Okay, so we've already covered routed VLANs, we've covered router on a stick, and now we're going to talk about the correct routing and how all this stuff actually works. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be covering all this stuff. I have not, we're not going to be configuring these. These are already configured. So we're just going to be covering the main, the sites, and then we're going to, after this is all done, we're actually going to connect all this stuff in together. So then all this stuff should be able to reach all of these servers. So, so let's get started. So first thing we're going to do is we've taken a look here, and you can see in this, we've actually added in the WAN ports. And that's what these red lightning bolt like connectors are. These are serial or T1 ports. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through, we're going to configure the main router with all these subnets. And again, if you were wondering how to, if you hover over this, you can see which ports were connected. So in this case, this one's 000. This one here is 001. This one's 10. And then this one is 11. Yeah, I know that's a very confusing screen when it does that stuff, but we're going here. We're going to get this up, and we're going to start configuring things. So, no enable config t. We're going to call ourselves host name. Where are we again? We are main. Okay, and then from there we're going to go into interface serial 000. We're going to give ourselves an IP address of 10.0.0.1, and this is a /30, so this is going to be 255.255.255.252. Enter, and then we have to turn it up, so no shut there. We're going to do the same thing in our other interfaces, so 1, that one's going to be 10.0.0. This one's is the .4/30, so this is going to be .5. And we're going to do a no shut there. And we're going to go into 1/0. And this one is going to be, where are we at here? Unfortunately, these labels, this is the 8. So this will be a 9. No shut. And then if we go into our last one, give this an IP address. This one's the 12 network, so this will be 13. No shut. Okay. And then we do a show IP int brief, and we just want to double check our IP addresses. You can see we've given it a 1, a 5, a 9, and a 13. And you can see here, these two that, because I've already programmed sites 2 and 3, those ones came right up. Whereas serial 0 and 011, we have not programmed those routers up, so those are still showing us down. So, come on, there we go, clear it out, there we go. Okay, so let's go over here, let's program in site 1. No, let's make this a little bit wider so then we can see what we're doing here. Enable config t, host name, we're calling ourselves site 1. We're going to go into interface S000. I use 000 for all of these. So we're going to give it an IP address of 10.0.0.2 because we gave it the other end of the connection .1. And again, it's a /30, so 255.255.255.252. And we'll do a no shut. Okay. And I'm going to leave this stuff off, the 0016 network. We're going to come back to those afterwards. And then let's go ahead and program in site 4. So let's see, site 4. No. Enable config t, host name, site 4, interface S000, IP address 10.0.0. Remember, because we use 13, we have to use 14 here. 255.255.255.252, and a no shut. Oops. Yeah, my bad. No shut. I'm sure a couple of you have done that. So, end show IP int brief. Show IP int So you see here, we've got it up. So if we try to ping across it, 10.00.13, you can see that works. And so if we want to try to ping site 1, let's see if this works. Ping 001.2. And you can see, unlike our other stuff, because we're routing between VLANs and the other ones, this one doesn't work the way that the other stuff does. So what we have to do is we actually have to turn on a routing protocol. So in this case, we're going to turn on router RIP. So what we need to do is we need to tell it what subnets that we're actually going to advertise. So in site 4, we're going to go into a config T, we're going to do router, and then RIP to enable the RIP protocol. Then we need to tell it what networks we're advertising. So if we're going to advertise on the 10.00.12 network, we need to go network. Oh, we need to do first off, no auto summary. Because what happens is with subnetting, if you remember, there's Class A, Class B, and Class C. Because these are all Class A, so they're all part of the same /8, but we made them smaller. With auto summary turned on, they all become one big network. So it won't be able to route them out the other interfaces. So we have to turn on no auto summary. In your newer versions of routers, those by default are turned on. But your older stuff like 12.4 and older, you have to actually run that command. So. But next we have to tell it what networks we're advertising. So in this case we're doing 10.00.12. And that's all we have to do for right now in this one. So if we end, and now if we do a show IP route, you can still see we don't have any new networks yet. We haven't made any neighboring partnerships with main router because we have not configured main to actually advertise routing addresses. So what we need to go next into is we're going to need to go into main. We're going to config T in this one. We're going to do router RIP. So now we've turned on the RIP protocol. Now we need to say no auto. And then we got to tell it what networks we're going to talk to. So let's start with 10.0.0.0. We're going to then talk to 10.0.0.4 network, 10.0.0.8, and .12. Okay. And so now, if you do a show IP route, you're going to see it's actually learned 2 new routes. It's learned these 172 addresses from Site 2 and Site 3. And if you follow, here's our IP addresses. They're connected via the IP out here, which is Site 2 router, and .10 is the Site 3 router. And then here are the actual physical interfaces on main router that they're connected to. And you can see via the R, it's learned how to route to those. So if we go back over here now, and we look at Site 4, and we run that command again, when you do our show IP route, you can see now, look, we've learned about a whole bunch of new ones. We've learned about the 172s. We've also learned about the other connected networks. So, great. Now we should be able to, like if we wanted to ping one of these routers, say ping 172.1.1.2. Again, first ping's going to fail. Then after that, everything should route through. But it's not. So there's a reason why this is happening. It's because default routes are not being set. So we'll have to work through that in a second here, because if we do .1.1.1, that's on main. So what's happening is we're pinging from Site 4, but Site 2 doesn't know about it. So give me one moment here. Whoops, close there. So let's just double check to make sure that we actually set a default route, which we set incorrectly. So if we set that again, 172, and we go back here and try this again, there we go. Because it was trying to say, hey, I need to send my replies, and I was trying to send them to 171.1. And it doesn't exist. So now we can ping there. So now what we have to do is we have to go over to Site 1. We're going to have to do the same thing again. We do router RIP. We say no auto. And then we got to tell it which network we're talking about. Again, we're talking 10.0.0.0. So we need to say network 10.0.0.0. Boom. And if we do a show IP route, make it so it's readable, you can see we've learned all these new routes. So now we can ping all the way across everything. So that's all said, fine and dandy, but we want to get all these computers talking to these computers, talking to these computers, talking to these computers. So what we need to do is either, I've made this slightly more complicated than it needs to be. Normally what you can do is you can have this router be this router. And same with this one. This router is this router. I've added an extra hop just to kind of simulate more, hops that you're going to go through out in the outside world. So what we need to do is first, we need to go back in here to site 1. We need to go into config T, interface S0/0/1. You got to give it an IP address. In this case, we're going to give it 10.0.0.17. 252. And then we got to do a no shut on that. And then what we also have to do is we have to go back into router, RIP, and we have to tell about the new network. Network 10.0.0.16. End. Okay. So what you will see is, while we haven't programmed this router yet, but if we go back out here to like site 2, show IP route, you're going to see that we've already learned about that new address, 10.0.0.16. It's already been shared, even though this connection's not up yet. This router, site 2 or site 1 is telling everyone else in the network about that route. So let's go over here, router 0. Let's enable this, config T. We want to do interface S0/0/0. I messed up. This is actually interface G00. IP address 10.0.0.16.17.18. 255.255.255.252. Let's do a no shut. So we'll go back over and we'll fix site 1 here in a second. So we've got all that programmed in. Now we need to also go into router RIP here. We need to tell it about network. What network are we talking to? 10.0.0.16. But we also have to tell it about these other networks. Because what's going to happen is if we don't tell, this router is going to know about these. But if we don't tell the rest of the network that these exist down here, all they're going to see is just this router. They're not going to see anything that's hidden back here. So we have to do network 192.168.0.0.1.0, .2.0, and .3.0. Whoops. So again, if we show an IP route, we're not going to see anything yet because I've messed up site 1. I have to go back out and correct that. So let's go back over here. Let's go into here, config T, interface S0/0.1, do a no IP address, shut down, interface G00, IP address. We're going to give this one 10.0.0.17, 255.255.255.252. We'll do a no shot on that one there. So now if we do a show IP route, you're going to see that we've learned all these new routes. So now if I wanted to ping from site 1, I can ping 192.168.3.2. Again, first one's going to fail, and everything else succeeds. So again, we go back in here to site 2. We look at our route table again. And now you can see we know all about those addresses. So now if we're in PC3, we run command prompt and we want to ping 172.2.2.2. First one fails, and then everything succeeds. So we're going to do the same exact thing over here on site 4. We're going to go into here. We're going to config T. We're going to do interface G00. We're going to give it an IP address of 10.0.0.1.0.1.0. In this case, we're going to do 21, 255.255.252. We're going to do a no shut. And then we're going to go into a config router rip. And then we're going to tell it again, network 10.0.0.20. And we'll save the config. The one thing about this that you're not going to see, because this is a failing of Packet Tracer, but if you're doing this on a real actual router, if you do a show run, when you get down under router rip, you're going to see all those separate networks. Fortunately, this is a simulator. It's not a full-on thing, so it's actually still summarizing even though we have no auto turned on. So now we just have to configure router 2. Config here. Oops, CLI. Enable config T. We're going to go into interface G00. We're going to do IP address, in this case 10.0.0.21.22, 255.255.255.252. We're doing no shut. And you can see our link comes up. And then if we go into router, oops, R-O-U-T-E-R, router rip, we do a network 10.0.0.20. But see, what's going to happen here is when we go and look at router 4, we do a show IP route. You can see here, we don't have those other 172 networks in here. Because again, in router 2, we didn't actually advertise those networks. So now we have to do network 172.16.0.0, .1.0, .2.0, and .3.0. So now if we come back in here to site 4, we show route again, you can see, it's starting to share those routes. So we got 1.0, we got 2.0, and as it learns more and more, we'll get the other ones also. Yeah, see, it's summarized here. We did 172.16. So what we can do here now, if we go here into the command prompt, we do a ping 172.16. Let's do 3.2, and you can see we're going all the way across the network. So this leads us into one last step. What we can do is say this one, we're going to give this the DNS service. So we're going to create an A record. We're going to say, www.test.com. And that is going to point to this other server. So 172.1.1.2. We're going to add that in. So now if we look up www.test.com, it's going to point to this other server. So what we're going to do is go over here. We're going to give this another service. We're going to give it HTTP. We're going to turn that on. So it's already there. And then on PC3, we're going to change the IP configuration. We're going to give this as the DNS server. So 172.2.2.2. Boom. So now what will happen is if we come out here and we do a ping www.test.com, what's going to happen is it's going to go out to 172.2.2.2, look that up, and give us an IP address back. Fast forward here. And it did not reach the server. Let's make sure we can reach it. 172.2.2.2. Okay, it's pinging. Did we forget to actually enable the DNS? Yes, I forgot to turn on the DNS. There we go. Okay, so let's try this again. And you can see it's replying. So then if we go to a web browser, we enter www.test.com, hit go. You can see we have our successful web page. So that's a combination of the correct way of routing things, and this is how you would do it in a real world multi-place application. This over here, routed VLANs, is basically a hack with Cisco Packet Tracer, and then this is router on a stick. So if you have one router on site, but you have multiple VLANs, this is how you would program it, and then you would connect your routers in with each other there. Again, please let me know if you have any questions, but this should do it.